A small boat sails through the misty waters, barely visible in the dark, stormy surroundings. He rows slowly, his body trembling as heavy breaths escape him. The silence is filled only with his panting. He grips the oars tightly, sweat running down his face. His body shows signs of extreme fatigue. He thinks to himself that the poison has already spread inside him. He feels like he might collapse at any moment. He recalls his goal to reach a place called Handong as soon as possible. He holds a golden token tightly, thinking it's the key to his plan, but something is bothering him. Suddenly, a light flashes ahead in the mist, making him stop and react in shock. His eyes widen as he hears a voice shouting, "Finally got you!" A dangerous presence appears in front of him. A large ship appears above, carrying several hooded figures who look down at him. One of them, a pale-faced woman with sharp golden claws, mocks him for escaping this far without being marked. She declares that his struggle ends here and demands his surrender. He glares up at her and shouts back, calling her a white-faced woman and refusing to surrender. He coughs violently and spits out blood, clearly weakened as his small boat nears the enemy ship. The white-faced woman tells him it's pointless to resist and mocks his struggle, saying it must be hard to even move now. She reveals that a man named Mr. Jucho promised her a position if she brings him in, and suggests he should just surrender. Despite his condition, he glares back and questions her, asking if she really desires power that badly. He yells at her, calling her a traitor, but she stays silent with a cold smile. She calmly repeats the word traitor, then mocks him, saying all he needs to do is follow the trend. She declares that the world is changing and now belongs to Mr. Jucho. She adds that his beloved Sarajo is already gone, leaving him in silence. He clenches the golden token in his fist, trembling with emotion. He says if she had any affection left for him as an old colleague, she wouldn't have betrayed him like this. Suddenly, he slams down with force, causing the platform to crack and explode under his feet. The woman widens her eyes in surprise, clearly not expecting such a move. He gathers a massive surge of energy, surrounding himself in a glowing aura as he prepares to attack. The woman is caught off guard and reacts in shock, trying to shield herself. He unleashes the energy with a roar, declaring it as his answer to everything. A huge explosion erupts, sending debris flying and leaving everyone stunned. His attack throws the white-haired woman and her forces into chaos. She's shocked that he still has such strength left. One of the enemies shouts that the negotiation is over and commands everyone to kill him immediately. The scene shifts far away to a peaceful coastal area labeled Constitutional State, South Haesong. A quiet house near the shore appears, surrounded by trees and calm skies, contrasting the earlier battle. Someone quietly sneaks out of a house, stepping carefully across the yard. As the person moves toward the gate, they are suddenly startled by a voice asking where they're going. The startled person stumbles back, and a boy appears behind them with a teasing smile. The boy, introduced as Jinbeek, nervously chuckles and says, "My, Midden," as he's caught. The girl, Midden, scolds her brother Jinbeek, saying their grandpa told her to keep an eye on him. Jinbeek tries to explain he wasn't planning to go out, just that he heard Beekbong's father passed away again. Midden glares at him, asking if he thinks Beekbong has multiple fathers. Jinbeek laughs nervously. She refuses to let him leave without permission from Grandpa. Jinbeek pleads with her to let him go. Jinbeek suddenly gets an idea and offers to buy his sister a hand mirror from the market. He sweetens the deal by promising to get her candy too. Midden stays silent, clearly tempted. She finally agrees, but warns him not to stay out longer than 3 hours. He happily runs off. As he rushes outside, he crashes into someone, caught completely off guard. Jinbeek looks up in confusion after bumping into someone and mutters, "What, sudden?" He freezes in shock as he realizes it's his grandfather, who stands tall and intimidating with a staff. Jinbeek nervously stutters, calling out "grandfather" as sweat drips down his face. His grandfather explodes in anger, shouting if it's so hard to stay at home, while Jinbeek panics and holds his head. Jinbeek, overwhelmed, shouts that if he's going to be forced to stay home, he might as well learn to hunt with his grandfather. His grandfather angrily responds that he doesn't need to go hunting or do personal things like that. Jinbeek tries to defend himself, saying a man should have big dreams, but gets scolded harder as Midden watches in shock. The scene transitions to a quiet night sky and a peaceful shore, ending the chaotic moment. Jinbeek sighs deeply, frustrated after everything that happened. He sits on the beach under the night sky, saying his grandfather is strange and that he's not a child anymore. He expresses his desire to live a better life, tired of the same boring daily routine. He dreams about learning martial arts, becoming a strong warrior, and riding a black horse in a beast's skin. Jinbeek dreams of traveling the world, catching bad guys, and becoming famous to make a name for himself. He imagines meeting a woman in danger during his adventures, then saving her by defeating the enemy instantly. In his fantasy, the woman asks for his name, amazed by his heroism, begging to know who he is. He proudly imagines replying with flair, saying it's his duty as a warrior to tell her, while posing confidently. Jinbeek shouts confidently that he's from Hwaryeongcheon district, striking a proud pose. He laughs with excitement, declaring this as the start of his journey as a martial arts hero. In his enthusiasm, he charges into the ocean yelling for everyone to get out of his way, only to get smacked by a wave mid-sentence. Soaked and defeated, he quietly walks back onto shore, dripping wet and silent. Jinbeek complains to himself, frustrated that a wave ruined his dramatic moment. As he walks along the shore, he suddenly notices something unusual in the water. His eyes widen in shock as he spots a wounded man's body washed up on the beach. He stands frozen, sweating and speechless, barely able to mutter, "Wah, what?" Jinbeek stares at the body, his thoughts racing in confusion and fear. Inside a large hall, rows of robed officials kneel silently, creating a tense and heavy atmosphere. Two guards visibly tremble, lowering their heads as someone approaches with authority. A man dressed in regal attire steps into the room, his presence commanding attention. He smirks with a sinister look, saying nothing, but his expression alone sends a chill through the room. The man in royal robes angrily shouts toward a chamber, demanding the king come out immediately. He mocks the silence, questioning how the king can sleep when the country is in chaos. With a sinister smile, he urges the king to put on his royal robes and show himself. A court official panics and tries to stop him, shouting that he can't just barge into His Majesty's bedchamber. One of the officials tries to protest, saying this act breaks the sacred etiquette between ruler and subject. Without hesitation, the powerful man grabs him by the neck and slams him to the ground. The official gasps in pain and confusion, overwhelmed by the sudden violence. With a cold glare, the man declares that the real disrespect comes from daring to raise one's voice to him, Lord Jucho. Lord Jucho strikes down another official with his sword, silencing him without hesitation. The man collapses dead, blood trailing down the wall, as others look on in horror. Lord Jucho approaches a figure covered in blankets, addressing him as Your Majesty and expressing false concern over his declining health. He suggests the king should go south to rest, while a cloaked figure nearby trembles, silently witnessing the cold manipulation. Lord Jucho, with a smug smile, proclaims that he has served loyally since the previous reign and now vows to lead the nation himself. The trembling officials lower their heads in silence, clearly afraid to resist. Meanwhile, back in the village, an elder shouts, "Jinbeek, you rascal," as the peaceful scenery returns. Jinbeek runs for his life, chased by his furious grandfather who's angry at him for sneaking out again. Jinbeek yells back that he's never been let off before anyway. Jinbeek runs from his grandfather, yelling that he only fell asleep at the beach and didn't mean any harm. He panics internally, thinking he can't admit he found a corpse during the night, it would only make things worse. Midden sighs from the porch as she watches Jinbeek being chased again, then shouts for him to come over. Their grandfather huffs and grumbles, claiming this stress will shorten his life, but pauses as something catches his attention. Jinbeek's grandfather hands him a bundle of venison, telling him to deliver it to Butcher Wang and ensure he gets paid properly. Jinbeek hesitates and tries to refuse, but backs down immediately when his grandfather glares at him. He walks into the bustling town under clear skies, heading toward the butcher's shop. Butcher Wang pays him and reminds him to behave and return straight home. Jinbeek cheerfully agrees. Jinbeek happily thinks about buying snacks with the money and remembers Midden wanted a hand mirror. As he walks through the street, he notices a crowd gathered ahead. Curious, he joins the group, wondering if something interesting is happening. Suddenly, his expression shifts in shock as he sees something unexpected. An old man and child are pushed to the ground, crying in fear as chaos unfolds in the market. A large man approaches confidently while the crowd watches in silence, intimidated. He confronts a stranger, telling him to mind his own business. His companion notes the man isn't from their village. Jinbeek watches from the crowd as people whisper that the gang is so dangerous even the authorities avoid them. The thug notices the man is carrying a sword and questions if he can handle 5 opponents alone. The swordsman smirks silently, unfazed by their numbers. He mocks them, saying he doesn't even need to draw his sword to deal with guys like them. The thugs are shocked by his confidence, clearly not expecting such boldness. The thug clenches his teeth in anger and calls him a bastard, furious at his arrogance. All 5 attackers charge at once, shouting that he must have a death wish. The calm man exhales slowly, showing no fear or urgency. He raises his hands as a mysterious energy begins to gather around them. He moves swiftly through the smoke, vanishing from the attacker's line of sight. The thugs turn in shock, unable to understand how he got behind them. One of them is suddenly struck in the face, blood bursting from his mouth. In an instant, multiple enemies are hit with powerful blows, flung back violently. The crowd watches in shock, eyes wide open as they witness something unbelievable. He walks away calmly while the enemies lie defeated on the ground. People shout in confusion, unable to grasp what just happened. Whispers spread through the crowd, no one saw him move. They call him an incredible warrior, stunned by his speed. She stares at him in awe, clenching her fists in excitement, calling him amazing. He calls the defeated thugs pathetic and begins to walk away as the crowd watches in silence. She runs after him, calling out and asking if he's a wandering swordsman. She praises his skills and excitedly asks if he could teach her martial arts too. He silently glances back at her without saying a word. She grabs his shoulder and shouts, surprised when he ignores her. Frustrated, she circles around him and demands a response, asking if he can hear her. While insisting again that she's never met a wandering swordsman before, she suddenly slips. She falls hard to the ground, and he watches silently without reacting. She notices her money pouch has fallen and panics, calling it bad. She rushes toward it, worried it might be broken. He turns slightly, surprised by her reaction. She opens it and finds something glowing, shocking her. She approaches playfully, offering a meal at her house. Suddenly, she gets grabbed and thrown down, shocked. He pins her down, asking what she's doing and why she has that item. She trembles, unable to answer, overwhelmed by fear. He angrily demands to know who she is and why she has the token. She panics, begging to be released and denying that she hid anything. He calls her weak, thinking there's no way she could have harmed the senior courier. He stays calm while she struggles uselessly in his grip. He warns her to tell the truth, threatening to kill her if she lies. Terrified, she gasps and stutters, overwhelmed with fear. She trembles and finally reveals that the body came from the sea. He processes the answer silently, his expression turning serious. He grabs her violently and demands to know what the body looked like. She struggles and says it was around 40 years old, but she couldn't identify the clothing. As he tightens his grip, she gasps that she can't breathe, then finally recalls a scar on the forehead. He drops her to the ground and questions what she did with the body. She confesses she buried it in Windbreak Forest. He calmly orders her to take him there immediately. The white-haired figure stands silently at the beach, staring at the ocean. 2 hooded men approach and address her as the white-faced demon. She asks if they found the courier. They report that they searched thoroughly but couldn't find any traces. She concludes that the courier must have washed up somewhere nearby, but if there are still no signs after searching everything, then something is wrong. The white-faced demon commands her men to search every corner of the village, declaring that the courier must still be alive. Sunlight pierces through the dense forest canopy as the scene shifts to a quiet, secluded area. The man kneels solemnly in front of a mound of stones, while the trembling guide watches from behind. He stares ahead with a serious expression, deep in thought as light gently hits his face. The man quietly listens as the guide explains he buried the body out of fear and confusion after finding it alone. A tear falls from his eye as he softly whispers, "Ah." He kneels before the grave, addressing the buried man as Senior Courier with deep sorrow. Gripping the ground with trembling fingers, his expression turns cold as he curses, "That bastard Jucho." The man clenches his fist with fiery resolve, vowing that if bloodshed is necessary, he won't retreat either. He thanks the boy for taking care of his senior and sincerely apologizes for doubting him. The boy, still unsure, quietly wonders where he's heard the name Jucho before. As the man prepares to leave, the boy is surprised by his sudden movement and gasps, "Huck!" The boy stops him and asks if he's really going to just leave like that. The man replies he has no more business here. The boy points out it'll get dark soon and offers him a place to stay. The man remains silent. The boy suggests staying at his house for the night. The man declines, saying he's in a hurry. The boy cheerfully insists, saying dinner is ready at his place. The man, slightly awkward, follows behind quietly. The boy excitedly thinks this is a great opportunity to learn martial arts and feels his heart racing. The man finally agrees to stay the night and follows the boy down the forest path. A mysterious figure in a straw hat silently watches them from behind the trees. Elsewhere, the white-haired woman yells at her subordinates, furious they still haven't found the target, wondering how someone so big could remain hidden. A cloaked man approaches the white-haired woman and calls her the white-faced demon. She asks if they found the courier. He replies they didn't, but instead found someone named Handong. Her eyes widen in shock upon hearing the name. She begins to laugh ominously, clearly intrigued by the discovery. The white-haired woman smirks, saying this is an unexpected catch. The cheerful guy arrives home, greeting Midden and asking her to prepare dinner for their guest. Midden is surprised and asks who the guest is, while the man hurries inside with the cloaked visitor behind him. Excited, he tells Midden that this person will teach him martial arts. She questions him, but he tells her to wait. The old man observes the guest silently as they sit together under the dim light. Suddenly, the swordsman's intense aura flares up, his presence overwhelming. The old man's eyes widen in shock, clearly sensing the danger. He asks if the man is a wandering swordsman. The guest confirms but hints there's more to him. The old man suddenly shouts, demanding why a wandering swordsman is in their home, and tells him to leave immediately. The girl tries to stop him, confused by his reaction, insisting the guest is harmless. But the old man yells that he's no guest. The swordsman calmly explains that being a wanderer doesn't matter, he only came because he was offered shelter for one night. Hearing that, the old man pauses, sweating and silent, as doubt fills his expression. The old man agrees to let him stay, but only for the night, and tells him to leave early in the morning. As the swordsman looks at him, he notices a deep scar on the old man's chest and is shocked. He silently questions if the scar is caused by acupuncture pressure points. The girl tells her grandfather to rest, while the old man mutters that it had to be a wandering swordsman. As Jinbeek welcomes him back and offers to show him the room, the guest silently thinks about the scar blocking that pressure point means sealing off martial arts. He wonders if the old man was once a wandering swordsman too. While walking, Jinbeek realizes they haven't introduced themselves and says his name. The guest stays quiet and replies there's no need to exchange names since they'll part ways soon. Jinbeek walks quietly beside him and tries to lighten the mood, apologizing for his grandfather's behavior and saying he's actually passionate about martial arts. He asks if, before the guest leaves, he could be taught just once. He dreams of becoming a great wandering swordsman. He adds that he wants to travel the world, save people, and be like a hero. The guest remains silent for a moment, then responds with a single word, "you." The man suddenly questions if Jinbeek thinks being a martial artist is some kind of game. Shocked by his harsh tone, Jinbeek hesitates and asks, "What?" The man's gaze sharpens, but he remains silent, lost in thought. Jinbeek, confused, defends himself, saying he never saw it as a game. A scream echoes through the night, shocking Jinbeek as he hears Midden's voice. Panicked, he shouts for his grandfather and brother while rushing toward the source of the noise. Both of them sprint out of the room, trying to figure out what's happening. Jinbeek, alarmed, calls out for Midden as they charge through the door. Jinbeek freezes in shock as a mysterious white-haired woman appears. She greets Handong calmly, revealing familiarity, while Midden is seen bound and crying. Midden struggles and calls out to her brother through muffled tears. Jinbeek yells Midden's name in rage and confusion, demanding to know who these people are. The white-haired woman smirks and greets Handong, saying it's been a while. Handong remains silent, watching cautiously. Jinbeek clenches his teeth in frustration. He yells furiously, demanding they let Midden go. Without hesitation, Jinbeek rushes forward to attack. A masked enemy charges forward with a blade, aiming at Jinbeek. Jinbeek runs ahead, but is caught off guard as blood splashes around him. Someone shouts Jinbeek's name, reaching out in panic. An old man intercepts the attack just in time, shielding Jinbeek, who reacts in shock. The old man is struck violently while shielding Jinbeek, crying out in pain. Jinbeek watches in horror as enemies surround them. He asks what's happening. Bleeding heavily, the grandfather struggles to speak and tells Jinbeek to run. Jinbeek freezes in shock, trembling as he tries to respond to his wounded grandfather. He tells the boy to leave and says he'll handle the situation himself, warning it's not a fight for children. Jinbeek hesitates, sweating as he listens to the warning about dying if he's careless. He stares in shock, questioning what's happening. Facing the group of cloaked enemies, the man calls the white-haired woman White-Faced Demon and demands to know how she's here. The white-haired woman says she was tracking the escaped courier but ended up finding someone unexpected. She questions if he met the courier and found the jade talisman. He stays silent, watching closely. She admits she didn't expect him to answer easily. To force a response, she grabs the girl and threatens her, making the girl scream in fear. The woman tightens her grip on the girl and says her life depends on his answer. The girl panics and trembles in fear. He tells her to let the child go, saying the issue is between them. She smirks and says she doesn't want to. She coldly adds that if he wants the girl released, he must do something first. The white-haired woman stabs the girl and yells at him to answer properly, while the girl screams in agony. Another man sees the wound and looks shocked and horrified. The long-haired boy yells out Midden's name and dashes forward with intense speed. A masked attacker swings his glowing weapon to intercept him. A masked man gets struck by a blue energy slash and screams as he's launched back. The white-haired woman charges forward with power as she mocks them, laughing and saying that's the right kind of reaction. She lunges with a fierce expression, swinging her weapon with deadly speed. A massive clash of red and blue energy erupts as two powerful attacks collide. The white-haired woman appears through the smoke and mocks him, saying she expected his skills to survive. She prepares to fight seriously, but her opponent vanishes in a blur, leaving her confused. He suddenly descends from above with a powerful blue slash aimed at her. She gets caught off guard and grits her teeth in pain as he grabs her by the throat. The white-haired woman strikes the ground with force, releasing a powerful shockwave. Her subordinates panic and shout, "Lord Demon!" She yells back, warning them not to interfere because this opponent is her prey. Meanwhile, the man watching the fight is stunned, unable to comprehend what he's witnessing. The blue-robed man is overwhelmed, unable to understand the scale of the battle before him. The red-haired fighter charges in with a powerful strike, questioning if humans can truly fight at this level. The clawed glove of the white-haired woman cracks under pressure from the impact. The man accuses her of dragging innocents into battle again and questions if this brutality is what Lord Jucho stands for. The white-haired woman declares that anything standing in Lord Jucho's path must be cut down, even him. The man narrows his eyes, bracing himself with silent determination. He lets out a battle cry and leaps upward, sword raised high. With full force, he strikes down on her, catching her off guard. The man's attack shatters the claws on her glove, causing sharp pain. She grits her teeth and winces, trying to stay composed. He lands at a distance, preparing for the next move. She smiles faintly and says she wanted to face him alone if possible. She snaps her fingers, signaling her group to move. She says they're short on time, and several masked swordsmen charge forward. He watches them carefully, sweat forming on his face. His eyes narrow as he focuses, clearly alert and tense. He shouts Midden's name, panicking as he holds her. He realizes if they delay any longer, the child's life will be at risk. He grips his sword, saying they need to finish it in one strike. He prepares to launch, his foot digging into the ground with force. He decides it's the only way. A massive blue aura surges around him, forming a dragon-like energy as he activates his full power. She glares with fury and yells in alarm, realizing something dangerous is happening. Another woman is shocked, eyes wide, as she sees what's forming ahead. They both notice the man building up energy. One of them yells not to let him finish preparing his attack. Someone grits their teeth in frustration, the tension rising rapidly. He unleashes a powerful technique called Dragon Blood Slash, sending a massive energy wave toward the enemies. The woman screams in panic, desperately shouting for everyone to dodge. The energy wave grows, engulfing everything in its path as it charges forward. One enemy gets hit directly by the attack, groaning in pain as they're thrown backward. The powerful slash hits the ground, creating a massive explosion that cracks the earth. As the dust settles, she pants heavily, clearly exhausted from the attack. She sighs in relief, thinking it was a close call. But her enemy stands unharmed, mocking her effort and calling it a shame if that was her best move. Cracks spread across the ground from the force, catching her attention. She looks confused as she hears something moving beneath her. Suddenly, he bursts out from below, catching her off guard. A massive explosion erupts as he attacks, shaking the battlefield. The man stands silently in front of the shattered ground, his aura still heavy. Another watches him in disbelief, muttering that this is impossible. He realizes he's witnessing something he only ever heard about in legends. The black-robed man lowers his sword, surrounded by energy. This is true martial arts. As the dust settles, he struggles to process what he just witnessed: real martial arts, something he only heard about in legends. The black-robed man pants heavily but remains composed. He shouts at the others to quickly sit the injured child down. Without hesitation, the man lifts the girl and places her upright as ordered. The man places his glowing hand over the girl's wound, releasing blue energy. The energy spreads through her body as her eyes remain peacefully closed. Behind her, he channels power calmly while others look on in disbelief. Stunned, the man wonders if he's dreaming, unable to believe what he's witnessing. He questions whether real martial arts should feel this way, with a troubled look on his face. He watches the healing process continue, but thinks this isn't something amazing, just overwhelming. An old injured man lies on the ground, struggling to move. The battlefield is littered with broken weapons and blood. He quietly admits it's all too cruel. The old man coughs blood, calling out Midden desperately. The girl and others rush to check on him as someone asks if he's okay. He pleads for someone to save Midden. The man in black says there's no need to worry and explains that he's injecting inner energy to expel the poison. The old man, still struggling, urges them again to save Midden. He's breathing heavily, clearly at his limit. The man calmly assures him that if they can hold on for just 1 hour, they'll overcome the critical stage. The man shatters a wall with glowing energy, impressing his opponent. But the silver-haired enemy stays calm and smiles. He acknowledges Handong's improved skills, but warns him it's still not enough. With a sinister grin, the silver-haired man reveals a clawed glove, saying Handong is still too soft. Handong's expression tightens. He clenches his jaw and mutters, "Ugh," as tension rises. Handong explains the risk. Injecting energy might save the girl, but if interrupted, both he and the girl could die from a demonic backlash. The silver-haired enemy mocks the effort, saying such a weak attack can't harm him, and accuses Handong of underestimating him. Green venom drips from his claw as he says Handong has changed, but so has he. He lunges downward with his glowing claw, shouting that he's no longer the man he used to be. The old man shouts "No" in panic as someone prepares a weapon. A young person cocks the shotgun and fires a shot directly into the air. The bullet heads straight toward the silver-haired enemy mid-attack. A pair of glowing red eyes widen in shock, reacting to the sudden interruption. The silver-haired enemy is hit and confused, asking what just happened. The blue-robed girl winces in pain from the intense energy. From a distance, a man holding a weapon stands confidently, catching the enemy's attention. The enemy asks, "Who are you?" Another man dashes forward, shouting for the girl to stay still because it's too dangerous. The girl prepares her weapon and pulls the trigger with determination. The enemy laughs mockingly, saying the weapon is useless and calling it a toy. As she charges up a spell in her hand, she claims the attack won't work on her. A powerful energy slash is released toward the girl, who reacts in shock. The girl dodges the enemy's attack and charges forward while shouting. She gets hit by a powerful strike, crying out in pain. The attack explodes in front of the cloaked enemy, who braces herself. The old man shouts in panic, calling out Jinbeek's name in horror. The girl lies injured among the rubble, groaning in pain. She tries to move, but realizes her body won't respond. Close-up shows her panicking, sweating, and unable to move. The enemy walks away, mocking her and saying she should know her place before interfering. The girl named Midden stands weakly, her body glowing faintly with energy. The injured girl looks on in panic, realizing the danger Midden is in. She struggles to move, her hand trembling as she reaches out. Determined, she begins channeling golden energy, vowing to protect Midden. The enemy offers a deal: join Lord Jucho and wait quietly while the child is healed. He threatens with a claw to the neck, pressuring him to choose wisely. But the man glares back defiantly, declaring he'd rather die than serve that bastard. The silver-haired villain grits their teeth in frustration at the refusal. The villain charges a deadly green energy, mocking him for sealing his fate. With a twisted smile, she lunges forward, yelling farewell. A gunshot echoes. Someone fires a shot mid-attack. Her eyes widen in shock as the bullet hurtles toward her. The bullet explodes on impact, engulfing the woman in a blinding blast. A powerful eruption follows, shaking the entire area. Everyone reacts in shock. The man with the top knot and the elder are stunned. From the destroyed wall, the injured man reappears, holding the glowing weapon tightly. Breathing heavily, he aims and fires the gun one last time, pouring his energy into it. His vision blurs as sweat drips down his face, body trembling. The recoil knocks him backward violently, and the gun flies out of his hands. Watching from a distance, the woman scoffs, questioning why he would infuse inner energy into a weapon made for hunting animals. She calls him a pest, but admits he possesses an interesting skill, staring down at his unconscious body. Thinking to herself, she realizes he's more dangerous than expected and considers killing him on the spot. She hesitates, thinking that if left alive, he could become a threat to Lord Jucho. Just then, a voice says, "Wait." She turns around, surprised to see someone stumbling toward her. The old man struggles to stay upright, panting heavily as he stands near the gate. He declares that the 8 jade talismans are not here, his voice firm despite his exhaustion. Recalling their earlier words, he tells them to leave since they were only after the talisman. The silver-haired woman and her companion react in shock, their expressions tense.